Hello, everybody, and welcome to a fresh perspective, brand new episode on how to approach your CRNA school applications. I feel like we tend to make CRNA apps so anxiety producing and like so soul crushing when we don't get the outcome we want, or we just stay worried about, well, what if this is for nothing? And what if I don't get in? So, how I want you to start thinking about this versus like a lot of you take this journey as like, am I good enough? Like you go on a am I worthy enough hunt, right? During your CRNA school applications. So I want to encourage you to tackle this from an I am good enough place. I am worthy enough. I am simply looking to make a career change. And how best during the application process can I showcase my skills, my personality, who I am as a nurse, and who I am as a person in order to level up into this career change. Okay. So we're going to like switch that mindset from mindset. We're going to shift that from like looking for, am I good enough based on the outcome that happens or how easy the process seems to go, right? Instead of coming from that angle, we're going to come from it from actually a business minded perspective that we're going to talk about today, because you're literally just making a career change, right? You are changing careers, you are receiving more education. So I want us to come from application, like from this mindset of this is a business approach. This is a career change approach. So I'm going to break down that perspective. I'm also going to be dropping tons of tips about resumes, personal statements, and the actual interview. And I will link in the show notes below all my services that I provide: resume, personal statement reviews, my interview bundle resources, all the things. But grab something to write with. If you're listening to it, go back. There's going to be a lot of good stuff in here as you're preparing your CRNA applications, really good mindset, perspective shifting. And I'm also going to do a part 2 of this for once you get into CRNA school, how do you get organized and set up once you get into CRNA school? So that'll be like a part 2 coming soon. Okay. So what if we looked at our CRNA package from a marketing and a branding perspective? You are essentially setting out on a new business venture, which requires branding and marketing strategies to get into CRNA school, right? So when we think about your brand is going to be you. It is your uniqueness, your value, your personality, your strengths, what you've overcome, your reputation, right? And when you portray your brand in your resume, your personal statement, and the interview, okay? Branding is also doing your research on the schools. It's knowing the industry. It's understanding the profession. What does the profession need right now? What are some of the problems that profession is facing? What is the anesthesia market like right now, right? So you're doing like basically like market research on anesthesia schools, the one you're applying to, the profession itself. There's a lot of information on the AANA website, Facebook pages of different anesthesia entities within states. Excuse me. And once you get your data, then you're doing strategic planning on how your brand will be an asset to this industry. All right. So thinking about all the things, what do CRNA schools want in an applicant? What does a CRNA do? What qualities does a CRNA need? What exactly is the role? How are you able to handle the stressors of school to fit into this role and this industry? Okay, so those are some of like the questions you want to be asking yourself as you're putting together your package, right? Because branding is essentially the culmination of internal and external assets that are strategically developed based off research to create basically or reinforce an impression or perception in the minds of the audience. So in that fancy way, essentially what branding is it's who you are on the inside, the external assets as well that you have put together via your resume, CV, or personal statement, right? You've strategically developed a plan based off the research of the industry and the profession and the schools so that you can show off yourself and how you're going to be an asset to the programs, okay? You want to make it unmistakably clear on what your brand, on who you are, what you can deliver to these programs, okay? And that's what you're going to do with those 3 pieces: resume, personal statement, and then the interview, okay? So your resume I want you to think of your resume as kind of like the checklist, right? They're going to look at that to see if you're meeting the minimum criteria. Your personal statement is going to tell the story behind the resume of exactly who you are. And then the interview is your opportunity to bring your package to life and bring it all together. Okay, so let's break each of these down, and then we're going to talk about the marketing piece of it, which is so freaking crazy important. Okay, so we'll get to that next. But let's talk about resume, CVs, personal statements. So for a free resource, I always recommend is Canva, canva.com. I will link it in the show notes. I've been using them for years for all my business stuff, but you can essentially make a free account, and they have templates of like CVs and resumes and stuff like that that you can have. So basically check that out. But when you're creating your resume, creating your CV, whatever it is that you choose to do, whatever the school asks you for, whatever it may be, you simply want it to be clean, super clean, not jumbled, professional, organized, and succinct. Okay. If you're in my roadmap program, or if you book a session with me, I essentially give you like a resume checklist and also a personal statement checklist. So you can make sure you have all the things, but you want your resume or CV to be kind of that validator to that program that you meet all the minimum requirements. It's like check the box. Okay. And you want to make it easy for them to look at and read and to basically see very quickly who you are, what you've done, your work, all the things. Okay. But some schools will have an outline, so make sure you're always following what they want when you're putting your CRNA application together. But essentially, you want like your header with your contact info, your objective statement about you and your goal, which is getting into their program, right? And then I would, your education, your GPA, you can put in there any pending classes that you are in when they will be completed. You can put in there a skills checklist that highlights all your skills, procedures you help with, vent settings you use, medications from different categories that you titrate, hemodynamics you monitor, right? You want to be able to confirm all those things, like show them the acuity and the skills that you have gained, right? And any specialized things you do, ECMO, CRRT, any ultrasound guided training, whatever it may be, right? You also want to have on there the kinds of patients you take care of. What diagnoses are you seeing? What trauma things are you seeing, right? Then you want to have your certifications, licenses, any type of leadership, committee work, rapid response, charge nurse, etc. Okay. And then with other jobs. So when you have like other jobs in there, because so many people are like, I don't always have all the ICU. I've been in the ICU for 1 or 2 years. Okay, fantastic. Your other jobs, you can tie skills there, right? Because you've done your market research on the CRNA profession and the schools. How can those other jobs you've had, like L&D, med surge tele, tech, whatever it may be, how can you tie into what you did at that job that is going to help you and has created skills in you that are going to be transferable into the CRNA? All right, like communication skills, patient care things, leadership, anything, presentations, research, everything that you do, you can tie it back to things that can be utilized for your CRNA career. Okay. And that's like the importance of this branding thing and knowing the industry. Okay. I mean, a lot of people I precepted have been circulators, right? People have done step down, everything counts. And I have a whole episode I devoted on talking about that. I believe it's like episode 2 or something like that. So definitely check that out. But in your CV, in your resume, you are literally laying out your career brick by brick for them and make it easy on the eyes to navigate. Okay. The second part is going to be your personal statement. Okay. Not all schools want you to have a personal statement. I always say, write one. Okay. And then some schools will have very specific prompts. Okay. But essentially, the personal statement is when you take all the research you've done on the profession and the school, why you want to be a CRNA, why they should pick you, what qualities do you have, what experience do you have, like what things can you talk about that elaborate on who you are as a person, nurse, and a leader, right? The personal statement, you want to entice them to give you an interview, right? You want them to want to meet you and to be like, oh my God, this is excellent. Got to meet them. Let's interview them and see if they'd be a good fit. Okay. Things you might want to include in your personal statement, if able to, depending on the prompts, because some have very specific prompts, would be any types of gaps in employment, any GPA issues, like anything like that. I would think about it, think about potentially addressing these things in your personal statement so they can see like the challenges that you are capable of overcoming. Okay. But no matter what, it should be extremely well written, extremely professional, APA format, like no fragments, very succinct, to the point, powerful, right? You don't need 2 pages to get your point across. I promise you, you can like be very powerful in just a few sentences and words. And I'm very good at kind of helping you guys break those down and really get to the point and get to the meat of it. So you can really just share your story with them very quickly, but you're still getting that powerful point across. Okay. Now, a lot of people get so freaked out about the word count. Oh my God, it only has 500 words. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. I always say, tell all my mentees, do a total brain dump, right? I just want you to get out a fresh piece of paper, whether you're typing it up or writing it out, and just free write out. Why do you want to be a CRNA? Why is that school the school for you? Why you? Brainstorm like patient care scenarios, brainstorm, mistakes, issues, communication things, like, right? Like really think about who you have become over the course of your career, right? Like get all that stuff out there and then you can start editing it down. I wouldn't write like you're going to have at least like 3 drafts. Like your first draft is like just getting everything out there, then edit it down, and then you edit it down like one more time. Okay. And then once you have your final statement edited down, just read it out loud. Like read it out loud, make sure that it reads nicely, it flows, it sounds good, have somebody else double check it, right? And really ensure that you have answered the questions and the prompt asked. Like you want to answer those things, okay? Don't beat around the bush. And y'all, try to make this fun. I say this all the time. Like you're sharing your story, you're sharing your package with them. Like this is kind of your chance to elaborate on what your resume doesn't share. Okay. I want you to pretend like that you are literally like pretend like me and you are sitting out to lunch, right? And I don't know you at all. And I'm chatting you and I'm just chatting you up, right? And I'm just asking you like, why did you want to be a nurse? What made you go into nursing? What makes you love the CRNA profession? What are some challenges that the anesthesia profession is facing? And how can you help fill those gaps and help bring the profession forward? Why is obtaining a DNP important to you? Right? Like, just think about if we were having a conversation, what would you be saying? Right? It's like we get to writing and we're like, oh my God, we get so freaked out. But just think about it. If we and you were talking, what would you be telling me? And just write that out. Be a human, connect with your readers, right? Get that connection point with them. And I even say like little like fun hint is write when you feel inspired, right? Like don't be afraid. Like once again, I say all the time, you're not going to feel motivated all the time, but when you're in like a very inspired place, write or watch a powerful movie that like inspires you, or put some music on, or like Rocky or something, right? Put like some Rocky music on or something. Don't be afraid to also write from a place that you feel very inspired as well. Okay. Everything during this process of getting into CRNA school, it doesn't have to be and feel so heavy and so painful, right? You can always decide how you want to think and how you want to go about this process. And we do a lot of this in my CRNA program, is reframing the struggles and deciding how you want to show up for yourself, regardless of how you feel, regardless of what has happened, right? So it's just really important that I just want to offer it to you as well. Like you get to decide how you are going to approach this entire process. And it doesn't have to be so horrible. I promise you. Okay. Okay. Let's get into the marketing portion because I think this is super important. So that is basically covering branding. That is creating your brand, what your brand is, who you are, looking at all the strategic, like all the things CRNA, and strategically putting yourself into like basically potentially being in this industry, right? Of anesthesia. Okay. So that's branding. Now, marketing. Okay. Marketing is essentially the activity of promoting and selling your product or services. Okay. We see it all the time. We are on social media, TikTok all the time, marketing, 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 marketing. Okay. Your product is you. Okay. You are selling you to these programs. Okay. So it is submitting your applications, right? But it's going to anesthesia events, okay? Diversity CRNA events, anesthesia conferences in your area. It's calling up anesthesia departments and asking to speak to the chief and about shadowing opportunities, or just, it's really marketing is making connection, emailing the schools, introducing yourselves, scheduling a site visit with the school, right? You are the product. You want the anesthesia community to know about you. Anesthesia is a fishbowl. Networking is so, so key. I cannot stress it enough. All right. And always, I want you to come from this mindset when you are contacting anesthesia departments or going to conferences or whatever it may be. Don't come at it from what can y'all do for me, but what value can I bring to the profession? What value can I bring to this interaction? What value can I bring to shadowing? That's how I want you to go about things, because that simple shift, not from what can I get, but what can I give, will change everything. And that is like the key of networking. Okay. Okay. Lastly, let's talk about the interview. Okay. The interview is the ultimate showcase of your brand and the result of all your marketing. Because if you go out and market and network and stuff, you're going to have so many things to talk about and bring to your interview. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to say, because it's me and this is my brand and what I what I believe in and what I teach y'all, is to prep for your interview. Number one, clean up the brain, right? I feel like y'all go from so excited to get an interview to, oh my God, I can't do this, freaking out, right? Like it's like in a second, it's like excited and then it's like, you guys like lose it, okay? And you have all these doubts, like, oh my God, what if I don't know the answers to the questions? What if I don't get in? What if I look stupid? You get like freaking out, right? So number one, I want you to clean up your brain, okay? Because what you rehearse in your head, the thoughts you rehearse and play over and over and over again, is what you become. Okay. So just notice when you're kind of in this lack mentality of like, you get an interview and then you're like, oh my God, I'm not good enough. Oh my God, I don't have enough experience. Oh my God, I don't know enough. I'm not enough, right? That's what we go to. But I'm going to encourage you to focus on what you do have, what you do know, what is true about you, and like shift that energy and shift that focus. Okay. And I tell so that's like number one. And I tell my mentees all the time is that like start prepping for the interview with just like, what do I want to believe about myself? What do I know to be true about myself? And how can I portray that truth to the interview panel? Okay. So that is literally number one. Number two, once again, goes back to tell all my mentees, if you want to start prepping, start brainstorming things, right? Just kind of like with the personal statement, get everything out, mistakes you've made, challenging patients, failures, when you've like thought outside the box, times you've showed leadership, right? You want to have a bank of things at the ready so that you can talk through them during your interview. Review commonly used medications, right? That you touch a lot, paralytics, sedatives, pressors, inotropes, ventilator settings, right? As much as you can kind of pick through and know about the ventilator basics of those vent settings, PEEP, stuff like that. A-line, hemodynamic tracings, right? Common comorbidities that you see, like what is the pathophysiology behind that? How do you manage those? Okay. And let me say, I do not at all recommend writing out beautiful, perfect, amazing, fancy answers to these questions. Okay. Because you know what happens? Then your brain tries to memorize what you wrote. And then like you get all nervous that what if you don't say it perfectly, and you come off very robotic. Okay. So what I want you to do is once you kind of have these stories mapped out, I just want you to have things in bullets. Like you want them to be talking points. Like I tell people in my interviews when I write my lives or like do things, I just have like talking points because I want it to be conversational, right? I don't want to sit here and just be like reading to you guys, right? Same thing for your interview. So make sure you get like your stories, your drug review, everything, but have it at the, like once you have it like all written out, really cut it down. Okay. Because then it can be more conversational. Okay. And you can flow more. Again, be a human, right? They want to see humans in their interview. Show your vulnerability, your passion for the profession. Have some fun. Like this is your moment and your time to showcase you. And as far as your brain, like what about filling your head with thoughts like, I am a damn good nurse. Man, I have worked so hard. I have so much value that I can give to this school. I deserve to be in this interview. I am going to have fun. I'm going to be super nervous, but I'm still going to have fun connecting with the interview panel. I will figure it out. If I don't know the question, I am still okay. I am enough. Okay. Like these thoughts I want you guys to have versus like the latter of like, oh my God, I'm not good enough. What am I doing? Right. Because this is the kind of energy and the thinking you need to start practicing now, because then it'll be more habitual when you go into the interview, right? There's no better time than right here, right now, but to choose a right now, today, is to choose a new thought and start to work on that and practicing being in that energy of like being good enough and that what you have right now is enough, right? Because here's the truth, y'all. Perfect people do not get into CRNA school. And there is no such thing as a perfect interview because nobody is perfect. And they are not expecting perfection. They are expecting an imperfect person with an imperfect interview who is personable, professional, real, humble, and themselves. All right. That's what they're expecting. If you stumble a little bit, you're going to stumble in school. You're going to stumble in life. How do you recover from that? How do you handle yourself? That is the key. And I also will say stories and examples when you're answering questions, not long 20-minute stories, but quick little examples of things like I'm flexible. Here's an example of why, right? Very quickly, right? Use stories and examples. That's human. That's connecting with them. If you don't know something, that's okay. Admit you don't know it and just say you will go refresh on that, right? If you know maybe the partial answer, say what you do know and then admit that that's all you know, right? Because here's the truth. If you can't handle your nerves and the stress in the interview, how can they expect you to handle your nerves on test day and in clinical, right? You're allowed to be nervous. You're going to be nervous. You are a human. That is normal. They know you're nervous, right? But can you allow space for the nerves, but still allow space for confidence in who you are? And a lot of that is in prepping for the interview as best you can. And even in anesthesia school, preparation will save your tail. Okay. And the truth is, y'all, in the interview, if you do not show them who you are, if you don't share your stories with them, if you don't connect with them, then they are never going to know you, right? Like that, this is your time, right? If they chose you for an interview, it means they want to know more. And that is pretty darn exciting. And if you didn't get chosen for an interview this time, that's okay. Go back to branding, market research, clean stuff up. And sometimes it's just a matter of waiting. And we're going to talk about that in another podcast episode, right? Your job in the interview is to show them you are a good fit for their program. This is where your branding, the research, the marketing, everything comes together. You are enough with what you have and where you are. You can always improve, and you're going to be improving your whole life. But what if you could just start to believe right now that you were enough as is, right? Have good and high expectations that you are going to get in at some point, right? Expect that you're going to get in. Hold out hope, have faith, trust the process. And if things don't go favorably for you during the process, then have the audacity to treat yourself with kindness and to have your own back. A delay is not a denial, and it's not final if you choose to not give up. What business and marketing and branding are filling a need, adding value, and communicating how you can fill that need. The schools need excellent, flexible, resilient, smart, hardworking candidates, right? Of course, there's going to be competition. Of course, there's going to be people that have different and more experience than you, right? But your focus is that there is only one you. That's it. There's only one you. What unique advantages do you bring to the CRNA table? That's what I want you to focus on. Okay. All right. I hope that was helpful from approaching like a fresh way to approach your applications. If you want any further help with your CRNA package, please see the links below. I link my roadmap packages and my my other packages that I have available. I am cheering all of you guys on and take a stand, right? Take a stand in who you are. Have fun, dig in, and I really hope you guys can start to enjoy a little bit this crazy, frustrating, wild CRNA school process. All right, I'll see you guys on the next episode.